The Senate advancing a $95 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. The vote to begin debate was 67 in favor and 32 against, but final passage isn't guaranteed, especially if the Senate leaves Washington for its next recess without approving the measure. It's also not clear which way the House would vote or if border negotiations would again become mixed up in all this. Joining us now, Colorado Democratic Senator Michael Bennet, one of Ukraine's key supporters in Congress. Is there still the opportunity? It's very arcane, a lot of the way things work, Senator. Are there opportunity for amendments for this to include border provisions at this stage?
Arcane is a polite word for a total mess, but there is the opportunity for amendments. We have to negotiate those out at this stage, and that's what's going on during the course of the day. This is always a little bit of a fight between people that want to go home, people that want to get amendments. My view is that we can't leave until we've fulfilled our responsibilities to Ukraine, to NATO, and to democracies all over the world. And I think we're off to a very good start, finally, with a big bipartisan procedural vote. But as you said, that's not a guarantee of success. We should stay here to the weekend and make sure we get it done.
Senator, do you get the impression that that Ukraine is just barely holding on here without further aid? I've read articles that the stockpile of usable ammunition and the like, that it's really dangerously low. How bad is it right now?
They're out of bullets. That's the way to think about it. They're rationing ammunition. 2 years ago, when Putin invaded them, nobody thought that they would succeed the way they have, and they have astonished the world. They've taken back half of the territory that Putin took from them. They've won battle after battle after battle. They have pushed Putin's navy basically out of the Black Sea without even having a navy of their own, which has been critical for grain shipments from Ukraine to the rest of the world. I mean, this really is a nation full of MacGyvers who started this war fighting Putin barehanded and have fought him basically to a draw at this point. If we don't supply these weapons, they're going to lose this war. And that's going to entangle us, I think, into Putin's ambition for Eastern Europe and Xi's ambition for Taiwan. We should be supporting the Ukrainians because they have been courageous in the face of tyranny, and they're fighting not just for Ukraine, but for democracy.
Senator, were you able to watch the Tucker Carlson interview of Vladimir Putin, and did that inform your opinion in any way about what were you impressed? I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I know we had a president that looked into his soul once, and I don't know, totally misread what was there. Yeah. But did you get to what were your thoughts after seeing that?
I have not watched that interview. I think I'm more informed by the years and years that I've spent on the Intelligence Committee looking at the intelligence, both ours, the Europeans, the Asians' intelligence about Putin than watching Tucker Carlson interview this tyrant. But Putin's invasion of Ukraine is the first time since the New World Order, or since the post-World War order was established after World War II. We can't let it stand. The Ukrainian people have shown that there are still people in this world that will fight, give their lives for democracy. And I think at this point, Putin knows he's having real trouble on the battlefield. His army has, in many ways, collapsed under the pressure of Ukraine. The battlefield he's counting on winning on is the battlefield of division in our political system, the battlefield on Capitol Hill, and we just cannot allow that to happen. I am amazed and really deeply pleased that after months and months and months of people drawing lines in the sand here, we got 67 votes to move this bill forward. That's more than 2/3 of the Senate. I hope we can hang in there with a vote that's that big, not just for Ukraine, but for Israel, for Taiwan as well, for the humanitarian aid for Gaza, and that we can send a very strong bipartisan message to the House that this country is not going to cut and run on democracy. We're not going to cut and run on the obligations that we have to NATO and to the rest of the free world, and that the United States, even if we have some political dysfunction, can overcome that in the interests of our kids and our grandkids.
There are, we had Afghanistan and Iraq, so there's this taste, I think, in certain Americans' mouths about what exactly we want to be in the world right now. But it's almost a catch-22 in what we're seeing. So, we don't want to spend a bunch of money on other countries if we don't secure our own border. But then once that gets included, we don't want to secure our own, or we don't even want to do anything because we want to let President Trump deal with that. So it's almost a catch-22. I don't know what the path forward is, Senator.
Well, there is a path forward. And first of all, let me just say, in months of working on this, you're the first person to raise Afghanistan and Iraq in this context. And I think it is so important because it is on the minds of the American people. We've sort of somehow skipped over that step. The reality is we spent 20 years fighting two wars in the Middle East that didn't make any sense. The American people look at that and they say, man, that doesn't feel like a great use of the resources of this country. And I think the evidence is very clear that they're right about that conclusion. That's why we better be sure about what we're doing in this case. What we have are the Ukrainian people that are not asking us to supply soldiers, not asking the American people to lose our lives. They are asking us to supply them with weapons. They are asking us to supply them with intelligence. And by the way, we're doing it for less than 0.4% of our GDP, a very small part of our defense budget. And if we had set out to try to weaken Putin's army in the way that Ukraine has done, or reestablish our position vis-a-vis Xi Jinping, I would argue we could not have done it more cheaply than Ukraine has done it. And Ukraine has the receipts because they've won battle after battle after battle as I've said. So I do think the question that you pose is an excellent one, and we should be asking it every time we're in a situation like this. I also believe, I happen to believe, that we have to address the border in this country. The American people don't want chaos on our southern border. I think it turned out to be too complicated for us to do it at the same time we were trying to pass this bill, but we've got to get to that. The American people not, as I said, they don't want chaos at the border, but they also, and this is equally as important, they want a functioning immigration system because they know that a third of the economic growth of this country over the last century has come from immigration. And it's a huge advantage that we have that Beijing doesn't have. There is nobody crawling on their hands and knees across the Gobi Desert to get to Beijing. People still want to come to this country because we have the rule of law, because we have civil liberties. And we have to preserve that. We have to enhance that. And it's not only about securing the border, it's also making sure we're driving economic growth in this country.